Welcome to Avritt's Academy. I am Katherine Avritt. This is the broadcast dedicated to Christian educators at home and in the classroom. Today we're going to talk about outside projects. Thank you for joining us this week. I hope that you had a fantastic week of educating and training young minds. Today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of having projects. Now, sometimes we might think that projects are only essential in the high school grades, but they are very essential in elementary grades as well. And I'm going to tell you today the reasons why we need to have projects, how to plan a project, and how to assign and grade a project. So, probably when you think about project, we think about science project. Now that's only one subject. I believe every subject should probably have a subject or could have a subject. So there's science projects for science class. There's book reports, and in the elementary school and in high school, there's so many different variations of ways that you could do book reports that make it not so monotonous of just typing a report. In history, you can do history reports, or for geography, they can build something or whatnot, many things like that. So there's very many ideas of the types of reports that you could have, and you can make them age appropriate. Now, when you have a project that's outside, it helps the student to not just take what's in the book and the curriculum and use rote memory. It helps to develop them into a well-rounded researcher and executor of the project, because many times projects take in many components. So first, let's just use a history project that they're going to have to do a history project about 9/11, the September 11th attack, because, time has passed and all of our students that are in high school and elementary school, they weren't alive, or they should not be students in high school still if they were alive when that happened. And it's an important thing for them to know. So things that you can assign to them might be like making a PowerPoint, writing a report, making a display board, give an oral presentation, maybe make a sample of the World Trade Center, something of that nature, just to help them that they're going to have to research at some point. So the project is going to help them to research to learn about the topic. So if you want them to learn about this history topic, or maybe about photosynthesis, or about a book report, the project helps them to do independent research that's outside of the regular curriculum. So they're going to learn more about it than they would being in class and taking a note or reading their textbook and answering a question at the end of the book. So it helps them to do research. Secondly, it helps them plan and do deadlines, or to organize deadlines, because if you have a project due, let's say you have a PowerPoint that's due, you're probably not going to do it the night before. You're probably going to need to organize your time, and it will help them with that, because you and I both know as an adult, life is about meeting deadlines and completing tasks in a timely fashion. So it helps them to get the logical thinking and sequential steps of, if this is due here, we have to make sure we do this, and we have to do research, we have to put it together, and so forth. And it helps them with planning and preparing. So they know the topic, it helps them with planning and preparing, and then it always adds an extra skill that they're going to need that could be helpful, and it couldn't be their thing. I know when I was in school, I struggled a lot with my artistic abilities, and it's something I still struggle with. So whenever we had a project to design something or create something and be creative and artistic, I struggled with that, but it was good for me. It's something that we need to have them do, even though it might not be in their comfort zone, because it helps to make them a well-rounded individual. Maybe I had all these creative ideas, but I just do not do things neatly. I'm not crafty like that. So I like group projects when I had a buddy who was crafty, and I can do the academic part and they can do all that crafty stuff. So it helps them learn other skills. If it's something they have to physically do, like put together a trifold display board or do a PowerPoint. Now in history class, they shouldn't be learning about PowerPoint, but it's something that they're going to need to know at some point in their life. So it helps them to learn an extra outside skill. And then it does give them, the Bible tells us the desire accomplished is sweet to the soul. They put in the effort and they get a grade. So it is good for the student in those 4 areas. 1, it helps them to learn even more about the subject. 2, it helps them to learn to be organized. 3, it gives them an outside skill that wouldn't be typically used in that course, and just makes them a rounded individual. And number 4, they get the chance to plan, work, and then receive a goal. So assigning projects would be important. Personally, for me in my classes, I like to give, I teach high school, I like to give a project each quarter. So, or something that's going to take a year long. So for example, their science projects, they're going to take a long time to do, so it goes over 3 quarters. But in English, their oral reports or their book reports or outside things that I have them do a new one every quarter, or for history, high school history as well. But in elementary school, that might be a little much for them, and it's going to be a lot of hands-on for parents. So an idea for elementary school projects would be each quarter, or however your school divides it up, give a different subject. First quarter could be they're going to do a book report. And then, as I said, there are so many different ways you could do a book report. They don't have to be this long, drawn out, write 5 pages about it. They can do a little shadow box where they recreate a scene from their story, or make a book cover where they draw a picture on the outside, write a description summary on the back, and on the inside, write things about the author. So there's so many creative ideas. I do suggest Pinterest. It is really the teacher's friend. And Google, just Google creative elementary book reports. And there's so many ideas in there that you could use. So book report 1 quarter, science project 1 quarter, history project. Maybe have them, if you're in U.S. history, do a presidential profile, or for geography, a country and something about the country. You can even have them do it with health, with practicing at home of wrapping ace bandages or whatever. So just try to vary it up in elementary school so they don't think that the only thing they're going to have to do is book reports, because it would be important to learn the science process, which is important as well. So make sure you assign them every quarter, and you can vary it up. In high school, they should probably be doing more than 1 project or more than 1 report per quarter, because they have multiple classes. For elementary, as they're getting used to it, I would probably assign 1 a quarter. Now, something that is very important, and I talked about in previous podcasts or broadcasts, would be to communicate. You need to communicate what is expected of them specifically. So you need to start as if they know absolutely nothing, go over beyond in detail. And as I say, give written and verbal communication. You should email the parents everything you tell the students. Hey, here's a list of all the projects. This is what's expected of them. They need to turn in a trifold display board. It needs to have a title. It needs to have X, Y, and Z on it. So that way, at projects, a lot of parents, especially the younger students, the parents need to be involved. They need to know what to expect, because I've learned this over my years. You tell a student something, and what you're saying is not what they're hearing and telling their parents. No, she said we have to do everything in red, when that is not even what you said at all. I could have said red's a nice color to do a project with, and they would go home and tell their parent, no, Mrs. Avritt said we can only use red. So you know how they misinterpret things like that. So whatever you communicate to the student, you need to communicate to the parent, because a lot of the burden is going to fall on them. And you need to give them ample time to prepare. So display boards, I don't think they're a lot of money. What, $5 maybe? If you go to Michael's. But still, if you tell a parent the day before, that's a little rush for them to go shopping. So it's important that we communicate everything with parents, that you communicate with the students, and all of the expectations that you want from them, all of the components and all of the due dates. If it is something that is new or a very extended project, I would suggest breaking it up into increments. So if I have them do a research report, I have many different things. So I have their outline, their bibliography cards, their reference books, that'd be bibliography cards, their note cards, and then their rough draft, and then their final draft. And one of the things that's helpful for that, as I said, it helps them to understand the importance of organizing. And I know we as teachers can't always do that for them, but it is helpful. And then another thing is, a project should be, grading will be another lesson, but projects should be a good chunk of their grade, because it's important that they complete it. So if you have a project and it's only worth 5% of their grade, they cannot do it and still get a 95 in the class if they did everything else well and said, this project's not important, I'm not going to do it. It needs to be graded enough so it makes value. And if they made a mistake on the whole thing, then there's 20% of their grade they're not going to do. But if you have 5 things that's worth 20% of their grade in total, then that means if I missed my outline and I messed up on that, I'm only out 4% instead of being out the whole 20%. So that's just a recommendation, and something I've learned that has been helpful is you break it up. in the assigning and the grades, because if 20% is outside projects and that's just one book report, that's a lot of weight to carry. And, we're all humans, and young people make mistakes and they miss plans. So the more you can set them up for success, the better it will be. So again, just want to encourage you that we need to be assigning projects because, one, it helps them to better understand material more, where they can learn more on their own instead of just in the classroom and from lecture and from textbooks. So they get an opportunity to do the research. And our goal is that these students are going to go to secondary school somewhere, right? We want them to go to college or tech school or whatever it may be. And a lot of college grading in place of a final exam or a test, they're giving projects. So it's important that they start young. Number 2, it helps them with ordering and sequence and preparing and organization. Number 3, it gives them a skill that they may not have in that class, and it helps them to become more well-rounded. And number 4, it's going to give them the chance to see the desire accomplished is sweet to the soul. They work hard for, and then they reap the reward of it. And I just want to encourage you to give projects, start today, start small, and make sure we always communicate, and let's see our students excel. I hope you have a great week, and I'll give you another lesson next week. If you would like to hear more or be aware of when they come, please be sure to subscribe to our channel, and you can find it wherever you listen to your broadcasts.
Thank you.